Chad Pennington disintegrated into the universe. He is now a different form of matter. He's vapor, because that's how insignificant he is in the history books of New York football.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Go for Two podcast, a podcast for frustrated football fans by two frustrated football fans. I'm Jenna Elique alongside Brad Klein. And Brad, this is episode 10. I know we got all weird about episode 7 for some ridiculous reason, but episode 10, now we have double digits. That's exciting. I'm actually gonna, instead of like a question, I looked up an article to try to find, significant number 10s in the NFL, facts surrounding the number 10 to try to draw some type of conclusion. And what I was led to was an article written by a Bleacher Report writer in 2011. And it is the top 10 best players according to jersey number. And in 2011, that guy was Eli Manning. So hats off to Eli Manning, a number 10 at number 10. Brad, do you have any other significant number 10s in football, in life, that you would like to mention here?
I used to wear number 10 in Little League, but as I mentioned in a previous episode, it's only because I couldn't wear 44. I know Casey, the Real Deal Camille, one of our biggest fans, used to wear number 10. That was kind of his shtick. But other than that, no. I mean, if Eli Manning is your most significant number 10, then maybe it's just time to move on to 11 and just muster through this one.
Well, granted, it is an article that was written in 2011. So the people who were honorable mentions in this article were Santonio Holmes and Deshaun Jackson. So, we're a bit removed from that era when they were all stars together. 2011, that was a long time ago. What's up?
Chad Pennington wore number 10. My boy.
Chad Pennington.
Greatest quarterback in the history of quarterbacks. Chad Pennington. The man, the myth, the legend.
Where is he now? That's my question. Where's Chad Pennington?
Chad Pennington disintegrated into the universe. He is now a different form of matter. He's vapor, because that's how insignificant he is in the history books of New York football.
Well, let's talk about football. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? Talking about football.
Not Chad Pennington. That's not what we're here for.
Not Chad Pennington. But I'm starting to think, I don't know. So we hear that some players have tested positive for the coronavirus, especially in Texas. We have Ezekiel Elliott. He was, the headliner, the big name that tested positive for the coronavirus. Just as the NFL is trying to, move on, get their season going, I don't know how you continue on this pace if the coronavirus is going to if so many people are going to get the coronavirus, as we've seen in Texas. There's been a steady increase. Do you think that Roger Goodell changes his plan, or they're just going to keep going?
I think the plan will probably have to be changed. I think they will continue to go unless the Players Association really raises concerns like we're seeing in the NBA right now. Just a few weeks before they're really they're supposed to start to ramp up. You have a coalition of 80 players that say, you know what? We're not a huge fan of this, so maybe not. You haven't seen that in the NFL yet. The coronavirus cases with the Cowboys and Texans, it's concerning, don't get me wrong, but the only redeeming factor there is that it's concentrated in Texas. So worst comes to worst, maybe the Cowboys and the Texans just relocate for the season. That would be the worst case scenario right now for Jerry Jones, for Texas football fans. But you can still play with the Cowboys, with the Texans, as long as those players who were diagnosed, including Ezekiel Elliott, are without the virus, they test negative for it going forward, then I think they're fine.
Because you have the 2 week. I'm just thinking about the two week incubation period until this thing kind of goes away, or where this thing could be traced. So I just don't see how. I don't know. I guess these players would have to right now be self quarantining, and and to not talk to anyone associated with the NFL to not get this out beyond the teams in Texas. I just don't see how that could happen. But go ahead.
Jenna, the NFL has proven time and time again they're going to put the bottom line ahead of health every day of the week. And usually in that conversation, we're talking about concussions. Why would it be different now? What's the difference? I don't understand. There's a virus and it's worrisome, but do you think the owners care? No, absolutely not. Now, I don't think you're going to have a bubble. Like I said a few episodes ago, you're not going to have a bubble because that just doesn't work. It doesn't fit the sport. But you could have travel restrictions. You could have an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference. The East only plays the East. The West only plays the West. There is wiggle room to be inventive. The NFL owners are not going to let a season slide. There is no way. This is a far more functional league than the MLB, and they're not going to be in that boat. And they're just going to find a way because they don't care. They don't care that Ezekiel Elliott tested positive for the coronavirus, just like they don't care if Ezekiel Elliott gets a concussion or, God forbid, CTE. It doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to Roger Goodell. And for that reason, I am not concerned in the slightest that the NFL will plug away.
Good, because it would be a true shame to start this podcast when no sports are happening, hoping that the NFL will stay on pace to be told no NFL season. Continue to talk about football without an NFL season. That would just be horrific.
Well, that was my first instinct when you approached me about doing this podcast with you. I'd be like, I thought to myself, great, this sounds awesome. I can't wait to do this. Oh, wait, you want to do it now? Like right now? There's nothing to talk about. What are we doing? And then, I realized, okay, we could talk about things. This is me really paying my dues till we get to football. But no, 365 days of no football, of a podcast with no football, about football, that'd be rough. But I got to tell you, for anyone that's listening right now, they've proven, Jenna, that they are true Red Dead Go For Two podcast fans. If they're listening now without games, can you imagine the viewership when we actually have football?
The listenership for sure. I could say we're definitely gonna see all our true fans will stay, and we're gonna have some growth because we're literally talking about the bare bones of the sport of football, and we put shows together, and we should be proud of ourselves because there's nothing going on. But something that is going on, obviously, is the pandemic. It is still happening despite what it seems like with all the crazy things that are happening in our country today and this past couple of weeks. Richard Sherman had some comments about coronavirus and what he thinks the NFL's approach is going to do, if it's going to work, if it's not going to work. I'm going to read the beginning of this statement and then just kind of summarize the rest. It's a long statement. If you can get the gist within the first couple of sentences. So this is what he said. In general, I think we need to go out there as best we can and live life. I'm just not sure that we can shield players from something that seems inevitable. What do you think of Richard Sherman's statement? I think it makes a lot of sense, and that's something that we've been saying.
It makes sense. It is something that we've been saying. Caught me a little off guard, to be completely honest. Richard Sherman is a huge, impactful, loud voice in the Players Association, former president, current vice president, and that voice carries a lot of weight. The league cannot afford to take this stance. Richard Sherman can. Richard Sherman is allowed to go out and say, yeah, this might happen to me, but look, what are we going to do? I mean, there's nothing we can do. So let's just go out and do it. The NFL, even though I firmly believe they don't care about the players, as long as they can play, they can't say that just from a PR perspective. So it just caught me off guard, the brutal and harsh honesty of Richard Sherman. I'm very curious to know how many other players truly feel this way, because Richard Sherman has a family. A lot of the players, most of the players, have families, have children and wives. And it's kind of weird to say, yeah, me playing is going to put myself at risk and inevitably my family, but It's all right. We have to play. So what are you going to do?
I think in his statement, he goes on to talk about, the tracing back and then continuing to trace back, and it's there's no stopping the spread of this in a league like the NFL. And I agree with him. There's only so much you can do. It's either you have the season or you don't have the season. In my eyes, it's pretty black and white to me. Either do it or you don't. And then if you do it, that's where the gray areas come, because what does he say? Are you going to have how many people are you going to have on the planes? Are they going to be tested? And he just keeps tracing it back, and I can definitely see how his mindset and how it makes sense. The thing that I'm not sure about, and I kind of wasn't thinking about until you just brought it up, how are other players thinking about this? Because I think that is probably an unpopular opinion, but it's something that it must cross some other players' minds.
See, here's the thing. I actually think it's a popular opinion. I'm surprised that, of all people, Richard Sherman is taking this stance. Richard Sherman made $8 million last year. Now, $8 million doesn't seem like that much for a superstar player, a household name like Richard Sherman, Super Bowl champion. But in the context of the NFL, of the fifth-round picks that have just made the roster, the fourth stringers, the special teamers, $8 million, that is a lot of money. And if you made $8 million last year, you don't need to play a season. You don't. He can afford to sit out a season. Richard Sherman can afford to sit out a season, not make any income, and he doesn't even have to fill out unemployment. He doesn't. But that's not actually the case for all of the NFL players. Some of them, not saying that they'd be lining up in the unemployment line, but it would be a huge financial hit to them and their families, because they didn't make $8 million last year. They made $500,000 tops, less. So I'm just surprised that Sherman took this stance. I think it's popular, and I think it will become more popular given the weight and the magnitude of his voice. But we'll see. We'll see. Definitely a brave thing to say right now in the world of and the age of political correctness, being careful, walking on eggshells. Richard Sherman was just brutally honest and said, look, we can do whatever we can do. We can be careful. But at the end of the day, there's really nothing that we can do to fully ensure our health. And I'm just going to have to live with that.
We have some other 49ers news to talk about. Kyle Shanahan's contract extension, 6 years, $21 million. Brad, I'm going to ask you kind of a dumb question. Did he deserve this contract?
Yes. Yes, he did.
I know it's ridiculous, but you got to ask. Maybe you're going to have some off-the-wall opinion.
It's funny. On paper, it's not a ridiculous question, because his career record as a head coach, 3 seasons with the 49ers, is only 23-25. He's under 500. He only had 1 winning season. But, yeah, he's worth it because, first of all, it's only $3.5 million a year. So it's actually not even that much. Matt Rule just signed a contract for $8.5 million a year. Hasn't even coached a game for the Panthers yet.
Wow.
Shanahan took the Niners to the Super Bowl. Okay? Yes, it's worth it because the Niners officially turned a corner. The defense is huge. Garoppolo came into his own. And you can't look at the first 2 seasons under Shanahan as being indicative of what his contract should be. Oh, it looks like they kind of did, though. $3.5 million a year is nothing. He's not even in the top 10 for NFL coaches' salaries. I just can't believe that he actually signed the contract. If he held out for a few more years, then this guy would have been making $8 million a year. It would have been like Richard Sherman. Jenna, put it into perspective for you, okay? Just tell me, does Kyle Shanahan belong in this list? Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, John Harbaugh, Sean McVay, Mike Tomlin, Dan Quinn, Andy Reid. If I put Kyle Shanahan's name in that list, would you correct me?
No, I think he is one of the best head coaches in the NFL.
So those are the top 10 NFL head coaches in terms of salary. I took out Matt Rule, who's in there for $8.5 million at 6. I also took out your boy John Gruden, who ranks third on the list at
Of
10.
course he does, because we wanted to sign him for a gazillion years. Yep, continue. Sorry,
Boy,
you're going to get me heated.
if John Gruden's making $10 million a year, shouldn't Kyle Shanahan make at least 7? I mean, what are we doing here? John Gruden doesn't deserve half of what Shanahan's going to make, and yet he's going to make double. So it doesn't really make sense to me. Again, I think Shanahan could have made a lot more if he just waited his turn.
I agree with you. I mean, he made his team went. We're going to talk about worst to first in a second, but he did that. You know, they were 3-13 the year before and made it to the Super Bowl. That's insane. He should definitely get paid like he's one of the top coaches. Yeah, you know, John Gruden hasn't done that for us. So scoot him above him. Give him a top three type of money.
John Gruden should just donate his salary. They should just exchange salaries.
I mean, you just got to send it up north.
I mean, do it have you. I mean, Gruden is a nightmare, especially that contract. I'll tell you, in a few years, you're going to be regretting it even more than when you actually inked him to $10 million a year for what? A decade? What was it? Something crazy.
Yeah, it's 10 years.
Era? An epic? What are we doing here? Like, when did the dinosaurs live? It was epics and eras, something like that, right? And this is all going back to my earth science class.
I was going to say earth science. I took it and left it. I left it in there.
Epic is a thing. So is era. I'm pretty sure epic is longer. Who knows? All right, well, regardless, we're previewing what the NFL is going to look like in the near future. And I'll tell you, Jenna, the Broncos agreed to a multi-year partnership with FanDuel, the sportsbook, the official sportsbook of the Denver Broncos. What do you think this means for the future of American football?
Well, sports betting is in. It is something that is inevitably going to make its way around the other 31 NFL teams. It was smart of the Broncos to get on top of this. This is something that was allowed by the NFL starting May. Starting after May. They're the first team to jump on it. They got a partnership with FanDuel, and it's a super smart decision. This is the future of sports, is sports betting. It's going to be an element that becomes more of the norm as we continue into the next couple of years. So, you know, hats off to the Denver Broncos. I'll never say that again, but today I say hats off to the Denver Broncos.
So just to be clear, FanDuel can advertise at Mile High Stadium now. They can use the Broncos logo in their advertisements and in their app, but they can't use any player images in their ads. So the players are not involved. That way they don't get royalties, what have you. It's just the Broncos and FanDuel. And Jenna, you hit the nail on the head. This is the future. This is what sports will look like maybe 2 years from now, 5 years, certainly 10 years. It's coming. And by the way, I know that you're not a huge gambler. That's what you think, because I'm convinced that every sports fan is actually secretly a degenerate gambler. I just figured this out. When it comes to sports betting, if you give me money in my FanDuel account, then it's probably not a good idea. Because first of all, I'm bad at it. And second of all, I'm going to blow it because I'm bad at it. So, yeah, it's great. The fans are going to latch on to it. I know I am. And it's going to be very interesting. Jenna, I think this is the first step to a new fan experience in the stadium. And we could talk all we want about live bets, prop bets from the comfort of your own home, but I think this is going to become part of actually attending games. FanDuel can do prop bets, live bets in stadium for the people sitting in the front row, in the last row, and it's going to revolutionize the way we watch football.
That is an interesting thing to think about, because I'm thinking, like, now we're going to have, you know, the horses. It's not going to be the horses anymore. Everyone's going to be going out to your local NFL team stadiums and try to win some money. But, I mean, anything to enhance the fan experience is something that I think should be tried. And I'm assuming that, you know, Las Vegas Raiders will be one of the first or around. I mean, we should, just based on location. And I'd be curious to see how that would work.
Well, I'll tell you right now, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion. How many NFL games have you been to? Have you been to any?
I've been to one in my lifetime.
Okay, be honest. Completely honest. What'd you think?
It was kind of underwhelming. I felt really bad because I really loved the sport of football. It was kind of gross, but that could have just been where I was. I mean, no, the Dolphin Stadium's nice. Who am I kidding? And I was watching the Raiders. It was good. Like it was fun. It was a good time, but it was underwhelming, I must say.
Okay, it's underwhelming because football, more than any other sport, lends itself perfectly to television. Perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
We don't realize how important the yellow line and the blue line is until we get to the stadium. We're sitting really good seats in the front row at the 30-yard line, but we can't see what's going on because they're on the opposite goal line. And then we end up watching just on the Jumbotron. You're watching on TV at the game. So it's not a great experience, and people like to go. I don't think it's regarded as a great, fantastic fan experience without the tailgating, the before and after the game. That's what a lot of people are invested in. It's the cornhole, it's the barbecue, it's the parking lot. Not in-game, not in the stadium. It's hot or it's cold. It's never comfortable, and you can't really see everything. That's why it's better to watch on TV. So if you add an extra element, if you add an extra incentive to go to the game, hey, you'll have access to these special prop bets, or we'll give you like, I don't know, a $15 credit to place prop bets on this game if you go to this game. I think it's going to increase ticket sales because some teams have an issue with that. Not every team sells out every game, no doubt.
I've said that on this podcast. Are there LA Charger fans? No.
Yeah. So you don't think the LA Chargers could use an extra incentive for their fans to get to the stadium? Of course they can. I think it's going to completely change ticket sales and the fan experience. But hey, that's betting. We're going to do a little bit of betting of our own. Every year, it seems like the NFL has a team that goes from worst to first, a team that we don't even regard. We think they're in the sweepstakes for the number one pick. And then they turn around, the pieces come together, they go from worst to first place in their division and get to the playoffs. So we're going to pick worst to first right now. And we have a few options here. The AFC, you have the Dolphins, the Jaguars, the Bengals, and the Chargers. In the NFC, it's the Redskins, Cardinals, Lions, and Panthers. Jenna, who's your pick?
I'm going with someone in my home division, not my, central, my Florida home. But I'm going with the Chargers. I've kind of been a Chargers person on this podcast, I've realized, which I don't know how I feel about that. I've also bashed them for having no fans. So I'm kind of like bipolar when it comes to the whole, do I believe in the Chargers as a organization or do I not? I'm going with I do, because first off, right now there's a little confusion with who's going to play quarterback, but I think either of the option is going to be stable, especially with the offensive weapons that they have. They have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, not Michael, just to name a few, and that will help either quarterback, Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert, whoever ends up playing for the duration of the season. It will help them grow in this new system that they're accustomed to. The Phillip Rivers era may be over in Los Angeles, but they do have some tools to kind of continue the momentum that they have that the defense has given them. They're a top-rated defense with Joey Bosa, Derwin James, and Melvin Ingram at the core, the center. That they are who they are building around. If they didn't have as many injuries as they did last year, they would have been one of the best teams in the division, if not the league. But I do have some worries. I'm not going to lie to you. This is not the perfect pick, and I went into this knowing that this is not the perfect pick. I do have some worries. We have the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. I don't know. They're the Super Bowl champions, and I don't know if the Chargers can take that first place position, but I think they're most capable of doing so within the division. Also, like I said, there are injuries that they have just been riddled with the past couple of years that have just been unfortunate and has kind of contributed to the point of my last point here, which is they're never able to meet expectations. It's always the Chargers this, the Chargers that. They really could become one of the best teams in that division. They could beat the Patriots when the Patriots, were what they were. We'll see what they end up doing this year. But those are my concerns, but I think they have one of the best chances in the NFL to go from worst to first.
Jenna, this tore me apart. The Chargers were one of maybe the top 2 teams I was considering, but at the end, I just chose the most talented team, the best team that finished last in their division last season, and it's the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, the offensive rookie of the year, DeAndre Hopkins getting him for nothing from the Houston Texans. They are by far the most talented last-place team last season. That's why I chose them. The only problem is they play in by far the toughest division in football. The Rams, who are coming off a bad season, but then again, Super Bowl hangover, I actually see them bouncing back. A lot of people don't. The Seahawks with Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, they are always reliable. And the 49ers, Super Bowl runner-ups last season. So I actually think you need, if you're the Cardinals, you're kind of relying on the Niners to have a Super Bowl hangover, kind of like the Rams did. But the Chargers make sense. The Chargers play in an easier division. I'm just worried about their quarterback situation, but they definitely have more potential, more boom and bust potential with Justin Herbert. Tyrod Taylor is safe. Herbert could get them to first place if maybe the Chiefs falter off with a Super Bowl hangover of their own. But there are other teams too. I'm thinking, first of all, Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't know about you, I think they're the least likely to do this because I think they're first in line in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes.
I agree. I looked at the teams that were, involved in this potential, worst to first, and Jacksonville was definitely. I was like, there's too many question marks.
I think the Dolphins have a slim chance to do it though.
I've said it already on our our schedule podcast. I've said it. The Dolphins are a sneaky pick for sure.
Yeah, but that would only work if the division is horrible. Like the Buffalo Bills fall off a little bit. The Jets are the Jets and the Patriots are not the Patriots, and they can win the division at 8-8 or something like that, just by default. I don't see it happening, but it could. I think they're top 3. If I didn't hate Matt Patricia so much, I think the Lions would actually be my pick.
I thought about that, just thinking. I never did ask you, before pod, what your pick was, and I was like, he doesn't go for the Lions. Like, no, he can't go for the Lions just because.
Can't do it.
Because it would go against character of hating the Lions and hating on the Lions.
Well, I just hate Matt Patricia. I don't hate the Lions. I just think Matt Patricia is a bad coach. He's bad at his job, and because of that, the Lions are bad. So no. This tore me apart. I just turned my brain off, chose the best team. It's the Cardinals, and they need Garoppolo and Russell Wilson to get hurt or something, because otherwise, tall task.
Yeah, that was my thing. I appreciate the thought process behind what you were going for with, they're technically the best team out of the teams that have the capabilities, but the division, I don't see them beating any of those teams once, not even twice.
That's where I disagree with you, because they got swept by the Niners last year. Both of those games were close. They gave the 49ers a lot of problems last season, and they're knocking at the door. I think the Cardinals are closer than you think they are.
Yeah, so, I disagree. I don't think they're good, but we will have to see. We'll remember this.
Respect them. Don't make that mistake, because Kyler Murray is the real deal. Kyler Murray was the number 1 pick for a reason. So I think the Cardinals have a very legit shot. Again, they gave the 49ers trouble last season. Looking at the schedule now, 49ers win by 3 points, 28-25 on Halloween. Then later in the season, the Niners just beat the Cardinals by 10 at home. Doesn't look like an average last-place team to me. The Cardinals are a good team, and this is why. But, hey, that's what I think. Now it's time to go with what the internet was talking about. It's what was trending. And, Jenna, I'll let you start this one off.
The Madden 21 release was today, at least the trailer release. And like I've mentioned before, I do not have a premier gaming system. I have a Wii. And the most recent edition of Madden I have is Madden 10. So you better believe when I saw this trailer, it blew my mind. I was like, wow, they look so much like the players look so much more real. Everything just looks great. The stadiums look great. I'm amazed. But then I realized I am probably not the best person to be speaking about video games, especially Madden 21. So I decided to, like you said in the toss, look to the internet, because that is what is trending is all about. And I looked it up just to see what people were thinking and saying, and a lot of people were left with a sense of confusion of what this new edition is supposed to entail. They had four main things that they highlighted in the trailer, and a lot of fans and people that were expecting this were kind of confused as if they changed anything. They weren't sure what the difference was. And this trailer was much awaited. It was held back to be released. So this EA Sports really built up some anticipation, and it left fans underwhelmed, confused, and thought the whole thing was vague. Again, I thought it was phenomenal. They had in the beginning a little preview inside Allegiant Stadium, the video game version. So, a little nod to us and right off the top, but largely disappointing for everyone else.
See, but here's the thing. Just because I'm a casual video game fan, sports video games, I enjoy them when I play them with friends, what have you, but I can certainly go without them. Some people can't. Some people are addicted to this stuff, and they play Madden all the time. I only play Madden during football season. Here's the bitter truth. I don't know how they do it in the Weverse, but they update these games every year. There are two differences with the games. One, the rosters are updated. Two, the year on the cover is different. Madden 21 as opposed to Madden 20. Other than that, it's the same game every time. Same controls, same look, same thing, same shtick. It's the same. Sometimes they add like a different game mode or feature that I'll just never use because I only want to play Jets Patriots all the time. But other than that, it's the same thing. For my, can I have two what was trendings, by the way? Is that allowed?
I'll let you have it this time.
Okay, because one of them's breaking news, and you're probably interested in it.
Yeah, I am.
The Pro Bowl is heading to Las Vegas for 2021. So that's my what was trending. Got that 12 minutes ago as we record this on a Tuesday. But yeah, there you go. You have the draft for how many years? You have it for like the next 20 years. No, you have it for 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And you also have the draft. So, hey, not the draft, excuse me, the Pro Bowl. So, hey, I know you wanted to get there for a game or the draft. Now you have another opportunity.
I'm happy with this. I'm happy. That's my initial reaction. I keep saying it, give us a moment this season. And it looks like we're going to get a minor moment because no one really watches the Pro Bowl and it's not that big of a deal. But it is to me as a Raiders fan, hey, we're here. We are now your new location for an NFL franchise. To be honest, I probably won't make it over there for the Pro Bowl. January 31st was the target date for that. Probably not going to just have the time to. And the Pro Bowl the past couple of years has been in Orlando, and I haven't made it up there. So I don't know how this is going to change it.
That's fair. But hey, this is good for the Raiders. If Allegiant Stadium doesn't mess this up, which I'm not eliminating that from the list of possibilities, they could mess it up. If they don't, I think Vegas could end up being pretty much the permanent location for the Pro Bowl, just like Hawaii was a few years ago, many moons ago. It was Hawaii, and that was their shtick. But Vegas, the players are going to want to go to Vegas, and it might actually be a good way to entice players to actually play in the game rather than receive the Pro Bowl honor and then say, oops, I have a boo-boo. Have someone come and replace me because I don't want to risk an actual boo-boo in the Pro Bowl. So that's my flex what was trending. But my actual one, well, it comes with shades, Jenna, of Tim Tebow. Because what does baseball need right now? Baseball, probably not going to have a season, losing its fans. So what do we need as baseball fans? Well, we need another terrible, atrocious, unforgivably bad Jets backup quarterback. That's what baseball needs. Tim Tebow's not working out, but how about Christian Hackenberg, the 25-year-old failed NFL quarterback, failed AAF quarterback. Heck, he might have even tried the XFL, but now he wants to become a pitcher in the MLB. And Jenna, he has some experience pitching. You want me to read you his stats? These are legit.
All right, tell them to me.
25 2/3 innings pitched in high school, which is not many, just to be clear.
Not a lot.
He struck out 33 batters. He walked 40, which is not good. He hit 5, not good either. A 7.36 ERA. 7.36. And when I saw these numbers, I just thought, wow, I didn't think that Christian Hackenberg could be worse at a sport than football. But it turns out this is actually a struggle. 7.36 in high school, and you have the audacity to even consider yourself on a major league mound. Come on, have some more respect for the game. At least admit, you know what? Pitching is hard. Maybe if I wasn't good in high school, I won't be good in the MLB. Maybe. Just admit it. He was better as a hitter. He was by far better as a hitter. 10 home runs, a 378 batting average, and 148 at-bats. That's actually good.
Why is he pitching?
I don't know. Why is he pitching? I have no idea. I was watching the Sammy Sosa Mark McGwire documentary last night, actually, and Mark McGwire said that he wanted to be a pitcher. And I said, why? Why? You're a big guy. You probably can't even throw that hard, and you hit the ball a country mile. Why would you want to do that? Christian Hackenberg, why? Because you were a quarterback, you think, oh, I will just throw. I will be pitch. No, that's not how it works. Have more respect for a game that, quite frankly, right now doesn't deserve your respect. But just do it for me, because I can't bear to see another backup Jets quarterback attempt baseball. And while we're on the subject, Jenna, I firmly believe that Christian Hackenberg is the worst draft pick in the history of draft picks. Firmly believe that. A second-round pick on Christian Hackenberg, who was good his freshman year. Well, he was great his freshman year at Penn State. Good in his sophomore year. Okay in his junior year. And horrible in his senior year. No, but he was regressing. It's not even like ramping up. He was supposed to be good. He had great combine metrics, and hey, the Jets took a chance. No, he was bad. He got worse in college. And the Jets said, yeah, Christian Hackenberg, that's our guy. No, doesn't work out. Doesn't work out in football, in various leagues. And if you can't play in the AAF, you probably can't play in the MLB. But, hey, I'm frustrated with Christian Hackenberg. Believe it or not, it's not my fan frustration. Cue the music.
Fan frustration.
It's our flagship program. It's Fan Frustration. And Jenna, while I have the mic, I'm going to hold on to it because Myles Garrett and the Browns are close to signing a mega extension to keep the defensive end in Cleveland. Now, this is the same Myles Garrett who almost killed Mason Rudolph on Thursday Night Football in November.
Crazy.
And despite that, Cleveland says, yep, we want to build our franchise around this guy. This guy is the key. He is the guy that we want selling the jerseys, that we want the kids looking up to sell tickets. He's our guy. Now, I know what you're thinking, Brad, what are you talking? You're not a Browns fan. But Jamal Adams. Jamal
Here
Adams.
we go again.
The show. He went out and said, Myles Garrett is going to get a big extension. I'm not? Like, how does that work? I'm a model citizen. I do charity work. I'm Mr. Make-A-Wish. I'm always there. And it turns out all I really had to do to get my money, to get my extension, is concuss a man. That's all I had to do. Go figure. The Jets, I understand. Defensive end is a more valuable position than safety. I get it. But in principle, does this make sense? Jenna, does this make sense? Come on.
It makes no sense.
Myles Garrett was not even in the NFL a few months ago. He had to be reinstated. The NFL kicked him out of the league. Jamal Adams has been the crown jewel of the Jets ever since he was drafted. The only good thing that the Jets have done since, oh my God, I'm trying to think. Christian Hackenberg was a disaster and a half. Leonard Williams didn't work out. Sam Darnold, sure, but oh my God, Jamal Adams is one of the few successes I've seen as a Jets fan. And now, the NFL is valuing Myles Garrett over Jamal Adams. The Browns value Myles Garrett more than the Jets do Jamal Adams. And that just pains me to see.
It's disrespectful. Yeah, I was going to ask, like, for why? Like, why won't they just pay this guy? I'm tired. I'm frustrated that I have to continue to hear you be frustrated about Jamal Adams.
I feel bad for you. I feel sincerely bad for you. Because I know when I said Jamal Adams, I saw you cringe. And blood started to trickle out from your ear. I get it. But this is very frustrating, okay? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. This is over. It's done. Myles Garrett did one of the most unforgivable things. Jamal Adams, never. You never hear about Jamal Adams off the field. Oh, he was at a nightclub. He got a DU. No, never. You can't ask any more of a player. If any safety deserves an extension, money, it's Jamal Adams. Just pay your guys, move on. He's going to make your football team better. Pay your guys, move on. I'm sorry. I can't talk about this anymore. I can't do it. You go. I can't.
I'll take the mic from you just to ease you from all of this. I have a similar fan frustration to, I feel like it was one of my most recent ones, and it's rookies who haven't even done anything in the league yet because of everything that's going on, and you can't have your rookie camps, you can't do anything, and the season hasn't started. I want the Raiders rookies to be out of the headlines. I do not want to see it. I'm talking specifically because it was probably a week ago at this point, right after we filmed our last podcast on Tuesday. Lynn Bowden Jr., I think he's technically going to play running back. He can play a plethora of positions as he did in college. He was in the news because he was at a friend's house. He was at somebody's house. I'm not going to say friend. I'm not going to allege things. But he was guests of whoever these people were. And a DEA agent came, and the DEA, not just one agent, but, they came and they investigated and looked through the house, and everyone who was there was put into handcuffs, was arrested. Why is this happening? Like, why? I understand that might not have even been your fault, but stay out of the headlines. Don't hang out with people who might be bad news. Just stay out of them. I do not want to see it. I don't want to hear from you, at all.
Happened to?
Who?
Jamal Adams. Just saying.
Good connection.
Good
connection to add fuel to the fire.
He's never even there. He's never involved. It wasn't his fault. I get it. Jamal Adams would never be here. But go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry.
It's just frustrating for me just because, like, you haven't even started in the league and there's so much. Everyone has something to say. You have sponsorships that are having, sponsors who need to release statements now. Stay out of the spotlight while you are a rookie, especially when you haven't even done anything in the league, because the league hasn't even started. I don't want to see you in the news. I don't want to be worried about you. My, esteemed class of 2019 draft class, we love them. We cherish them as Raiders fans. We didn't have none of this nonsense. Stay home. Goodness gracious. Stay home. Don't do anything. That's always my advice to anyone who who gets themselves in a sticky situation, my advice to them is always stay home. Stop talking to people for a bit. It might do you some well.
I feel like Jenna is the mother of the Raiders fan base. Like if she had it her way, she would just take the draft picks for the Raiders every year, wrap them in bubble wrap on their way out the door, and just say, be careful, don't do anything, don't talk to anyone, head down. And if you start to drift off, just think about football, and football. That's it. No fun.
I am a helicopter parent. Yep.
You're a helicopter fan, and that's all. Speaking of which, what would you say? What would you think if Lamar Jackson played for the Raiders right now? Because that would be your fan frustration, right? You see what happened with him? Toppled over a jet ski, the guy. His legs were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Guy toppled over a jet ski playing beach football.
Hey, well, that's the stay off the jet ski. But remember what we just talked about: football, and only football. So he was playing beach football to stay off the jet ski.
If he can run fast in sand, you can run fast on turf. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Football all the time. Yes, I will say that. Here's my question. You know how, if you work and you don't want to I know a lot of sports broadcasters, for example, when they get home from work, they don't watch sports. They turn on the news, anything but sports. They have to separate themselves from work and life. If you're an NFL quarterback and your friends insist on playing beach football with you, wouldn't you want to play like receiver or something? Like, why do you have to be the quarterback all the time? All the time. Just saying. I don't know. Something to think about.
That's a good question, but
you tell me that Lamar Jackson wouldn't make a fantastic safety? You try throwing to the end zone between the sand dunes with Lamar Jackson playing center field and lurking there. Come on.
I'd love to see it, and as a lot of people who wanted to analyze. Nope. A lot of people who wanted to give some analysis on Lamar Jackson and his future in the NFL prior to his breakout season. He could play plenty of positions. He doesn't have to be a quarterback. So maybe he does switch, and we don't know. Sometimes he isn't a quarterback when he plays, with his friends. But we're going to have to leave that to the imagination, because this is the end. This is the end of episode 10. Big accomplishment. I mean, this is the one I was looking forward to, and I was glad I was able to be, the first voice you heard at the top of this thing, and I'm going to be the last voice as we exit. Go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter at the Go for the #2 podcast. That's where we're going to have all our up-to-date podcasts. That's where you can get those links, check out what we're doing. But we also announced last week that we are now on Apple Podcasts. So that is the way you are going to want to listen to this podcast. But we are understanding and we are inclusive. Do not get that twisted. We are. So if you do not have an iPhone, I really don't know why you don't, but if you do not, you could still go to YouTube. We're very forgiving. We'll let you still go to our YouTube channel. We'll even let you subscribe, leave a comment, and like things on our YouTube. That's how forgiving we are and inclusive we are. So you can get each current episode will be up, and you will also get to see our Fan Frustration Friday segments that we re-upload every Friday. So stay tuned for that. I know no one uses SoundCloud anymore, but we do have some of our previous episodes on SoundCloud, so that is an option for you non-Apple users. One other thing you can do is send us an email at the Go for the #2 pod. So not podcast like usual, just pod@gmail.com.
Yeah, send us an email. If you email us a suggestion, we think it's good, hey, we'll talk about it on the next edition of the Go for 2 podcast. So be a part of the podcast.
And that is where we'll close. That is all we got for today. We look forward to speaking about football, whether the seasons come under the season